Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of Halfway with Hathaway. So excited to have you guys listening and joining me today. It's going to be a fun episode. It's going to be great. A lot of jam packed topics in here. But first, we're going to start it off with some college basketball. Marquette, Kansas, number one team in the country, goes down to the 4 seed. I think Marquette has a serious run this year. I hate to say it, but they do. I mean, the Big East is going to run college basketball this year. There's no doubt about it. Creighton's up there in the top 10, UConn's top 5, along with Marquette, who's only going to be going up after the next AP poll. So that's why I think that the Big East is running college basketball once again. You had UConn winning it last year. Marquette, they have a shot at winning it this year if it's not Creighton or UConn as well. But I mean, that's what these early season tournaments are for. They're here to give these good teams like Kansas and Marquette a good run for their money to see how they can compete with each other. I said this on the last episode when Duke played Arizona at a home game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. So I thought that this right here is perfect. You have these powerhouse schools going at it, and then what they're going to be able to do is that they're going to be able to see what it's going to be like down the road in March. I don't want to sound repetitive, but I said it in my last episode. So make sure to go check that one out as well. And UConn, they are amazing. They're still perfect. They have a chance to go back to back, which we haven't seen since earlier in the 21st century. So I think with UConn, they have a real chance. And I mean, Tristan Newton, his third triple-double of his UConn career. That's the most in program history. And to me, that's crazy to think about. Shabazz Napier had the most with 2. He had Rip Hamilton up there. You had some UConn legends, and Tristan Newton's only putting himself up there. And I mean, Danny Hurley said this himself, in the post-game interview about Tristan Newton. And this is what I absolutely love. I put it on my Twitter as well, this quote. And Danny Hurley said he should be talked about as one of the best guards in the country. But people who watch TikTok highlights and don't watch the game are the ones judging. They don't know shit. That's what Danny Hurley said. I love him as a head coach. He keeps it real with everybody. He doesn't care about anything. He's just going to flat out tell you how it is. That's his coaching style. Many people don't like it. He's in your face type as a coach, and I love it. Danny Hurley is great. He's a man of the people. He's a people's coach, just like Mike McDaniel for the Miami Dolphins. Absolutely perfect. So that's why I think, the Big East, they're here. They're legit. And this is going to be a fun conference to watch this year. So much going to unfold in college basketball. It's only the first few weeks. We've gotten through the first month. So a lot more to come till March and April. So let's just talk about this right here. The NBA sticking to the hardwood once again. Jason Tatum, real shot at being MVP. He's been playing lights out. He's up there top 3. As of right now, it's early in the season. You have Jokic, he's up there as number 1, and Embiid number 2. Then there's Tatum at number 3. So I'm not surprised at all to see him up there. We've seen him up there for the last few years now. But Jason Tatum, he's bound to win when it's going to happen. It's going to happen very soon. It's going to happen this year, I believe, just because of how he's performing. The Celtics are one of the best teams in the NBA, and Jason Tatum's just putting it on night in and night out. So that's why I think he's going to be a lock for MVP this season. Of course, the games change of basketball. You have Jokic and Embiid running it every year. And the same with Giannis as well. These big men are running basketball. But it's now time to give back to those forwards. Like Giannis is a forward, don't get me wrong, but he's not that traditional forward. He's a Greek freak for a reason. So that's why I think you have to give it to somebody traditional, like a traditional player like Jason Tatum, who's all around amazing. I think he's bound to win when he has to, right? I mean, it's been forever since the Celtic has won MVP. So that's why I think Jason Tatum, it's going to happen. I really do think so. And Scott Foster, Chris Paul had beef the other night too, earlier this week. What's going on in the NBA right now? You have refs and players going at it. But we've known this forever, that Scott Foster and Chris Paul have this sort of beef with each other. I mean, when Scott Foster officiates these playoff games and Chris Paul's in them, he has only won like one game in his career, and I'm pretty sure that Scott Foster's officiated about 20 of these. So I really want to know what's going on with this here. I know they just don't like each other, but I feel like as an official, you have to be unbiased no matter what. No matter what the circumstance is, who the player is, you got to treat it differently every single game. And I just don't see that. Maybe that's why Chris Paul's upset. I mean, Steve Kerr had some choice words as well about Scott Foster officiating. And then Chris Paul said something had to do with his son. What? I mean, come on. We need more of this story, because I want to know what's going on with this. I think this is something that people need to just be more in tune about, because yeah, it's just interesting. This has always been something, and I love it. Every single playoffs, when in Scott Foster's officiating Chris Paul game, boom, you already know. Whatever team Chris Paul's on, they're losing. Yep, all right, that's a lock. You already know what's gonna happen. But yeah, so I just think it's weird that an official and a player have beef with each other. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there in Golden State. It's just weird. Golden State's a very weird team this year. Draymond being suspended 5 games, I talked about in our first episode. And then now you have Chris Paul getting ejected because of beef with Scott Foster. What's going on in Golden State? Somebody needs to get something together. Steph Curry, handle your team, man, because they're just going off a rail on a crazy train right now. It's so weird. And sticking in the Western Conference of weird things going on, Josh Giddy, this news was a few days old. These are all allegations. Let me just be very clear with that. Nothing's set in stone. There's no concrete rules by lawyers or judges, whatever. So apparently this has been going around that Josh Giddy has done inappropriate things with a minor. And this girl was 16 years old. And Josh Giddy, 2021 draft class, very weird draft class, by the way. Dude, that's a whole episode in itself. But yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, it's very new. Josh Giddy, I'm gonna play the video for you guys in a second. He came up and said, no comment.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the question, obviously, but there's no further comment right now.
And I think him saying no comment, I think that's smart on his end. I mean, if you look at it from a legal aspect, not going to say anything, of course, without a lawyer or anything actually happening. But the NBA's officially investigated this situation with Josh Giddy. And it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds, what's going to happen, because I'm not saying he's a key part in the Thunder. You have SGA, you had Chet, and now Josh Giddy. He was playing a role for that team, and it's gonna be interesting to see how that's gonna play out for OKC, how it's going to unfold. They have a slew of draft picks coming up, so if something happens, they're gonna have to cut him, same way the Spurs did with Josh Primo, and that whole situation that he had as well. So, got to get it together. I mean, I just don't know what to say, because these are all allegations. Nothing's true. Well, we don't know what's true, what's not true. But Josh Giddy doing inappropriate things with a 16-year-old, that's the news that we have right now. The NBA's investigating it. We'll let them investigate it. But of course, make sure to stick around on Halfway with Hathaway, because we're going to break this all down. This is huge. And I just think that what's kind of been going down in the NBA recently, not good. Especially from I think a marketing standpoint, a PR standpoint, definitely something that they're going to have to try to fix. The NBA Players Association definitely is probably going to have to talk about this as well. This is a serious thing. And definitely hoping, for something, if it is true, it's going to be sad to see, because this is a situation where, yeah, you can get arrested and put in prison for situations like this. Josh Giddy, this is America, where these things are very serious. So that's why I'm waiting for that hard, concrete evidence, from the NBA's investigation, if this goes to court, on what's going to happen next. But we're going to transition now to the NFL. Thanksgiving Day games, nothing better. You have Christmas Day basketball, and then you have Thanksgiving Day football. Those two hand in hand for some of the best things to watch on the holiday season. Lions, though, they have some work that they got to work. They have some work to do, I should say. The Packers defense came to play. At first, that first quarter was back and forth. It looked like a lot of fun. Okay, cool. We're going to have a high-scoring Thanksgiving football game that's going to come down to the wire. And, after that first quarter, I think the Packers just did a lot better. Jordan Love had something to prove. National stage. Okay, yeah. Let's see what you got. So I think they're just being able to see what the Lions can work on. I think it's good for them. They need a loss like this to kind of reevaluate. Okay, yeah, we may still have the NFC North on lock, but it's going to be competitive now. So it's going to be fun to see how this NFC North is going to play out. We know the Bears are just way out of contention. They're not even close, but you have the Vikings that are right there. The Packers, okay, yeah, they beat the Lions. What else can they do? We're going to have to see that in the upcoming weeks. So that's why I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of how the NFC North is going to play out. This is a division, yeah, it's going to be important, but Detroit, they need to prove it right now, and they look good. Detroit looks good, but sometimes you need these losses to just reevaluate, go back to the drawing board. Dan Campbell, a great head coach for Detroit. I mean, they came in this season beating the Chiefs on the Super Bowl ceremony. I mean, yeah, that set the tone for what the Detroit Lions are going to do this season, but you have to follow up with it. You have to prove day in and day out that you're going to be that top contender in the NFC North. I mean, another game I want to talk about, how about them Cowboys? For those who don't know, of course, you guys can see behind me, I got the Randy Moss, Teddy Bruschi pictures behind me. Big Patriots fan. Yes, but the Cowboys, I like them. They got that dog in them. I've been a big fan of Dak Prescott for a long time now. Was huge on Zeke when he was in Dallas. Loved the signing of him in New England. But the Cowboys are contenders. I'm not saying that they're winning the NFC East. Eagles, they have that unless they fall apart the next few weeks. They're going to come in the wild card. Yep. Okay. We didn't win in our division, but let's go prove it right now. That's what Dallas is going to do. They're still going to have that home field advantage until they have to end up playing a team like the Eagles. So I think they're contenders. Cowboys fans say it every year. It's our year. I think this is it for them. Defensively, they're the best I've seen in a while. Darren Bland, 5 pick sixes on the season. More than any Patriots wide receiver all year long. Cat's out of the bag on that one. But he has more touchdowns than probably a lot of players in the NFL as well. And so I think defensively, yeah, that's huge for them. Dak Prescott's playing good. Not saying he's MVP. I don't want to say who's going to be MVP this year in the NFL. Tyreek Hill could have that. Would love to see somebody other than a quarterback win it, of course. I think a lot of people do. But I mean, yeah, the Cowboys, they're legit. I think they have a shot of winning the Super Bowl this year just because of their defense. Well, defense wins championships. You look at the Patriots, their runs in Dynasty. Yeah, it was because of their defense most of the time. Of course, yeah, they had Tom Brady leading the way, but defense wins championships. That's how the saying goes. So I think that's why the Cowboys have a legit shot this year of winning the Super Bowl and bringing the Vince Lombardi trophy back down to Dallas and in the hands of Jerry Jones. And speaking of Dallas, let's talk about that Dolly Parton halftime show, because that was amazing. I thought it was fun. Just because, Dolly Parton, an amazing, iconic Hall of Fame singer, one of the best. She's amazing. But then she put on the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading outfit. It was just a whole production in itself. I'm not saying that just to say, Dolly Parton was in a Cowboys cheerleading costume, but I'm saying that because it was just a great whole production, and it felt like the Cowboys in a way. It's weird to say. Definitely different from Jack Harlow in Detroit. Did you see the setup for Jack Harlow? He had a little tiny igloo at the 50-yard line. That was it. That's all he's performing on. You could barely hear him. It didn't sound good. Dolly Parton, boom, big stage, flashing lights, boom, in your face type deal. That's fun. We need somebody like Dolly Parton for the Super Bowl. I mean, granted, they have Usher this year. That'll be fun, little R&B. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. It should be fun. I mean, Rihanna the year before, that was great. I love, big fan of Rihanna. But you need somebody like Dolly Parton in there that's going to be, boom, in your face, great production. Kind of like Pink Floyd, how they do their concerts and tours. Flashing lights, laser beam, smoke. Yeah, it's cool. This is the Super Bowl. This is, Thanksgiving Day games that we're talking about here, where everyone's going to be watching. People, give up their Thanksgiving Day plans. Oh, yeah, no. You know what? I'm going to have some turkey at AT&T Stadium real quick. You know what? I'll have the leftovers on Black Friday when I come back. See, this is, that's just what it is. It's a whole production. And Jerry Jones, great job, leading the way, and everybody trying to get Dolly Parton to do it. But Jack Harlow, man, I know you're a little new to the music scene, but you do have to step it up in the stage, in the production aspect of it, because Dolly Parton just absolutely blew you away in that sense. So that's why, it's just, it's you have to go all out, not just a tiny little igloo. And I like the year when Detroit, they had Eminem one year. That was pretty fun. I mean, you have to be able to cater to these things. Yeah, it makes sense. Have Eminem at a Detroit Lions game. Perfect. Jack Harlow has a verse in his song that said, "Cold like the Minnesota Vikings at home." That's a rival. That's a rival to the Detroit Lions. Why would you have them out there singing that? I'd be booing them if I'm a Lions fan. Yeah, no. Have them go out to Minnesota and sing that verse. There we go. It's just, it's funny. And it was funny how the broadcasters, Nance and Romo were talking about it, afterwards. They would love it, because at the end of the day, those guys are fans too. They are fans too at the end of the day. How many times are you going to say, yeah, I saw Dolly Parton perform? Not often you're going to say that. So that's why, I digress. I think I've been going on long enough about Dolly Parton and Jack Harlow. We're going to do a new segment on Halfway with Hathaway. Got a good buddy of mine, Jay Fudge. He's going to be doing a new segment called Jay's Parlays. It's going to be huge, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Jay sent me a text. Couldn't make it on the show this week. He's going to be coming on soon. That's fine, but I got his locks for Rivalry Weekend here in college football. It's going to be huge. We're taking the Bama money line, Georgia minus 24, Notre Dame money line, Washington money line, Liberty money line, Tennessee money line, Oregon State over 62.5 total points. That's Jay's parlays for this week. Big weekend in college football. Make sure to slam those bets. Let us know in the comments how you do. I'm going to make sure I'm hitting those bets as well with Jay. And it's a good friend of mine. I trust him. He's been winning a lot lately, so that's why I have him on the show to do a new segment with us here on Halfway with Hathaway, Jay's Parlays. So make sure, you guys take that advice from him, because it's going to be good. It's going to be a good weekend in college football, and I have faith that these are going to hit. It's something we've been doing, it's been reoccurring on this show, is I take your questions. So make sure to follow on Twitter at HathawayGeorge9. You're going to be able to see, your questions. I'm going to answer them here live for you. And one of the questions that I have is about the Orlando Magic. The question reads, are Orlando, OKC, and Minnesota legit or early season flukes? Now, I touched upon OKC with the Josh Giddy news. We're going to see how that goes. Minnesota, legit. Yes. Yes, they are. Anthony Edwards, oof. Yeah, he's him. He's him. Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns. Another great duo as well. That big three is solid in Minnesota. They're a very scary team. I don't think that they're going to go deep in the NBA playoffs. I think that they can make a run. They're legit. Give them a few years, they'll be legit. Orlando, I'll say it's an early season fluke. I will. I have a good friend of mine who works for the Orlando Magic, and I see a lot of his great content out there, and they look good. I love Paulo. Amazing. He's a dookie, so I love him, of course. Don't get me wrong, but yes, I think Orlando's an early season fluke. I think, their win streak that they're on, how they've been doing, in the last few weeks of November. I think it's an early season fluke. Let's see how this season's going to unfold. I think along with Minnesota, give it a few years. They'll get some good draft picks down in Orlando. And I think that they're going to be a really good team led by Paolo Banchero. That's why I'm a fan of Orlando. Don't get me wrong. I just think they're an early season fluke. So that's the only question I have. So make sure you guys are following on Twitter and asking these questions. So I want to answer them for you. I really do. So make sure to ask. But that's going to wrap things up on this week's episode of Halfway with Hathaway. I'm George Hathaway. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching. Make sure to follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and make sure to just listen. Make sure to give us that 5-star rating as well. Thank you so much again for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you guys next week.